He comes utterly participating.
Desde aquí parecía un fuera de juego. Bastante.
Welcome to Mike's Radio Restoration and Repair. This radio arrived in my shop with no life. No lights came on, made no sound. Since that time, it's been fully restored, and it works as good as the day it was new. If this is something you would like to do as a hobby, you would like to restore your old tube radios, you've come to the right place. This channel I'm setting up is intended to do just that, is to teach you how to restore your tube radios in a safe format. I'm going to take you through all of the tools that you need and the test gear, but we're going to do it very affordably. You don't need to have tens of thousands of dollars of test equipment or tools to get this done. Some basic hand tools, a few pieces of test equipment that can be found readily and cheaply. And from there, it's gaining the knowledge and gaining the experience and getting the job done, following along and asking questions. We'll certainly be here to help you along. We're also going to be focusing heavily on safety. Inside of these radios, there are lethal voltages present, both AC and DC. You can seriously get hurt or worse. That's why I use the term lethal. So safety is absolutely key. We're going to be showing you how to build two tools that are safety related, that you can be built extremely affordably and used very effectively. And again, to protect your own safety. We're going to cover a little theory. We're not going to go crazy. We're not going to talk like rocket scientists. We're going to break this down so that the novice or the average guy can get started and get going. You don't need to speak rocket science, and you don't need a degree in electronics or electronic engineering to do this. You need some knowledge and some understanding to get going. So again, nothing complicated. We're going to throw a little theory at you, mostly receiver theory, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to fix old tube radios. You know, we're going to talk about super heterodyne radio, single and dual conversion, and we're going to talk about and teach, you know, images and those types of things. So no worries. We're going to provide you with the information for you to read up on that and learn. We're also going to be really focusing on the radios that you most likely are to come across. We're not going to be focusing on high-end radios that you rarely see or are extremely expensive to get. We're going to be focusing on a lot of the stuff that the regular collector comes across quite readily. You know, a lot of the Hallicrafters line, the Philco line, Hammerlunds, things like that. You know, again, nothing crazy. Stuff that you come across that you normally see, you know, at a ham fest or, you know, maybe an antique flea market or something like that. So we're going to develop a process to take you step by step to restoring a radio, such as step A, step B, step C. Once you get proficient at that and you're proficient at reading a schematic diagram and you're in a good place to understand safety and what you need to do to protect yourself, you're going to be able to take that knowledge and apply it to so many other radios. This is idea to get you started here. You know, we're going to do some restores here, and we're going to take you along on a trip. And a very big part of this channel for us is going to be the viewer questions and suggestions that you leave below these videos. We're going to read them all. We're going to consider all your suggestions. We're going to look at all your questions and see if we can answer them and see if we can get you going. And more importantly is when the crowd kind of sort of says, we need to do this or we don't understand that, we'll provide more content on where folks are struggling and help you get going a little bit quicker, a little bit better. We're going to also discuss where you get parts for some of these old girls. Some are not easy to find, some are, and there are quite a few suppliers around continental North America, so we'll get into that and show you where you can get supplies. This can be a very rewarding hobby. There's nothing like the feeling of dragging home an old, dusty, broken old radio that doesn't work and breathing life back into it and tuning around the band and getting it to work like it did the day that it left the factory. That's very rewarding, along with curation. You know, this you're curating the golden age of radio. Saving these units from the scrap heap is always a noble pursuit. So you'll find it to be a very rewarding hobby once you get up and going and you get a few restored. So you're here probably because you're a radio fan. Like me, I've been a radio fan almost all my life. I began shortwave listening as a young child, like less than 10 years old. But it was fascinating listening to the voices come from all over the world and pouring out over that radio. And a little later on in my life, somebody gave me a 4-tube radio that was on a piece of wood, and it needed 2 batteries, a 6-volt and a 90-volt. That's 90 volts. And of course, you can't get a 90-volt battery anymore, and that bothered me that I couldn't get it working. I went to my local school and I took out a amateur radio handbook. And from there, I was able to figure out all the bits and pieces I needed, and I went to the local Radio Shack and I bought those bits and pieces, and I cobbled together a power supply. Struggled with it a little bit, but I remember late one evening I managed to get it going and lit the radio up, and the tubes glowed, and I put the headphones on, and I heard our local AM radio station compounding in over the headset, and to me, that was just magic. That kind of sort of set the stage for me. So I've been at radio for more than 50 years, and I've been a licensed radio amateur for almost 40 years. So I've enjoyed that. I've worked in commercial radio and VHF, and as well as broadcast. I've enjoyed that, and I have my own home repair area going. I do a little collecting, and I do a little amateur radio, and I enjoy it very much. It's a great, very very much a rewarding hobby. I ask you, maybe you could subscribe, and as we make videos, you would get notifications that we're releasing new material so that you could tune in right away and see what's going on. And again, we're really interested in your feedback to steer the channel in the way that people want it to go. And we have a lot of great projects that we're going to be doing here live on this channel. Not necessarily live, but we're going to be doing videos on. And you can see some of them behind me. I have a Hallicrafters SX-99 here for restore. This is a Hallicrafters S-38, and it's the original one with the built-in BFO. And I get a lot of questions about this radio because there's a lot of them out there. They're not the greatest radio that was ever built, that's for sure. They're not the super best, but somebody will say, my dad gave me one, or my grandfather gave me one, or I used to listen to this on my uncle, and my uncle gave it to me, or I got it when he passed away, and they'd like to get it going. So we're going to focus on this radio. This radio's got some problems right from the factory. It has one serious safety issue that we're going to be dealing with that I'll certainly teach you how to get around and how to make the radio safe again, how to restore the radio, how to align it, and enjoy it again, like as if it was new. So we're going to be doing quite a series on this particular radio. I've got a Hallicrafters with a big S meter, big S-76. And I have a dusty old chassis here. This is out of a Philco Model 90 Low Boy, and I'll put up a picture in just a second for you to see what that looks like. I think it's going to be a beautiful radio when it's done. I got a Philco Model 60 Cathedral here that needs to be done. Off in the back in the cheap seats here, I have a Hammerlund HQ140 that, although it works, it needs a little bit of help. I've got up on the top shelf here, I've got a Lafayette KT200 that's going to get a different RF tube and one little modification to make it more sensitive. So we're going to be doing that, plus a whole host of other things. So we've got a lot of interesting things that we're going to be bringing. And again, the concept of this channel is to teach you how to do this and do this safely. Just a bit of a public service announcement here. One of the safety pieces of equipment we're going to be building is what's called a dim bulb tester. We're going to do it a little differently. Rather than using one bulb, we're going to have it variable with 3 bulbs so that you can kind of sort of pass all of the radios that go through your station or through your work area with this piece of equipment without having to constantly change bulbs. So we're going to get into building that and what that schematic is later. But what I wanted to communicate to you now is that I went out recently to buy incandescent bulbs for a dim bulb tester because you cannot use LED bulbs in any format. It has to be incandescent. You need a couple of 60 watts and 100 watts. And I had trouble. I mean, I went into Home Depot and the only 60 watt incandescent bulbs I could get were these decorative bulbs. Now they'll work and they're kind of sort of cool looking and maybe old looking, so it might not be bad on the bench, but I also I went into the dollar store, and lucky enough the local dollar store had some 160 watt, 100, and those are 60 old incandescent clear bulbs. So I guess my message to you is that with the ban that's going on in North America, both in Canada and the United States, banning incandescent bulbs due to their energy efficiency problems, I understand that, but we need to understand they're getting harder and harder to find. And I don't know if I completely understood the logic that I heard coming out of the government, that they intend to ban their sale completely. So does that mean they're going to be pulled off shelves and the stock is going to dry up? I don't know. So I stocked up, and I'll probably buy some more just to be safe. So I guess my advice to you is that if you want to restore old radios, you're going to need a dim bulb tester. You're going to need these bulbs. I'm sure we could figure out how to do it another way with resistors. But you know what? This dim bulb tester is a visual thing. It's fast, it's safe, it's quick, it's the best way. So maybe stop by your local dollar store or your hardware store in a corner of town that everybody forgot and see if you can get some of these bulbs. 60 watt and 100 watts would be good. That'll get you covered for our dim bulb project, which is coming up. So I thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. I believe those videos we're going to be going through the tools and the basic test equipment you need and where to get them. After that, we're going to be going through safety and building some safety equipment that you're going to need. From there, we'll probably do a little bit of quick theory, nothing too serious. You know, a little bit of receiver theory and a little bit of receiving schematics, and we hope you've got the basics of understanding what a resistor and a capacitor and inductor is. Once you get those basics down and we get your reading schematics, things begin to make a little bit more sense. But again, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. So please subscribe. Thank you very much for your time, and we shall see you in the next video.